Welcome to a very special Space Waffles What's Glup crossover. I'm Candace, and with me is Katrina. Hey, Katrina.
Oh, hello. I'm so
And
excited to be here.
yes, we're so excited because Ventress is back. And of course, Katrina, you have a lot of feelings. How are you feeling as the Ventress person?
I am feeling so amazing. It's been a long time coming. We've known she was gonna come and appear in this season once that trailer first dropped for the new season. And whew, I'm so happy. I'm so pleased. I'm so satisfied. I can't even like summarize in words right now the totality of wonderfulness that I feel.
Just for me personally, we talked about this, I believe, on What's Glup. And maybe it's an episode that hasn't yet been released, but she was bridged in Dark Disciples, I would say. Bridging a woman is when a woman is killed to further a man's character arc. And it really felt that way. I love the book. Love the book. Do not like that part. But now I love the book more because she's alive now.
Yes. Yeah. It went from being a book I liked to being a book I loved because of the fact that she has survived what happened to her. And I've seen some arguments about, oh, but she sacrificed herself for the love of her life. So that's not fridging. And I'm like, no, that's still fridging. It is the death of a woman to solve a man's problem. It doesn't even have to be to advance his story, it's to solve a problem he is facing instead of him facing it himself. And that was what upset me. And it also upset me that, like, she ultimately died by the hand of her abuser, by someone who ruined her life and threw her away and abandoned her and then came back and killed her. And as
Yeah.
a survivor myself, like, it's for like the longest time. And so to see her come back and to have this view of like what her objective might be in this world and how she plays into it, it makes me so happy. Like, she is the survivor of Star Wars, and, like, not to be all like, "Oh, Ventress is the best," but, like, I just really feel like she's gonna outlive everybody from her era just because of who she is and what she's been through and what she's survived, so amazing. I'm so happy.
Yeah. She's gonna the best revenge is living well. And I want
Mhm.
Ventress to live it up and throw it
Yes.
in Dooku's Force Ghost face
Sh
and be like,
Yep.
hey,
She's really
hey.
getting ahead in life. Hey,
I can't think of a segue.
let's
So I'm
talk
just gonna
about the episode. Yeah.
yeah, let's talk about the episode. So, why do you think Ventress went to Pabu after hearing from Fennec? We find out the person Fennec was talking to in the last episode was Ventress. Do you think she's doing it because she's curious, or does she want to help, or does
Uh
she not even know?
I think that we've gotten some clues as to like what Ventress's motives are. And if we think about who she was before Dark Disciple happened, and even during Dark Disciple, her objectives started to shift whether she liked it or not. She routinely would find young girls in distress, starting with Ahsoka. There were two little girls in the Age of Republic comic that she helped, and just young people in general. She has this compassion in her that she doesn't quite like to address, but she doesn't want to see people suffer the way that she suffered in life. And so I think that with this whole M count thing going on, Fennec knew Ventress specifically because of her M count, like hunt or pursuit or whatever. She knew that Ventress was involved in trying to find people with M counts. And I feel we can talk about this a little bit later, but I feel like the reason Fennec called Ventress and not Cad Bane or somebody like that, or any other bounty hunter who would have been less compassionate, is because Fennec, despite who she is, despite having her objectives, she knows Omega, she likes Omega, she doesn't want bad things to happen to Omega. And that's why she called Ventress, because she knew that was somebody who was going after M count subjects that would not cause harm to Omega.
And I love these neutral women. These
Mhm,
women who are they're not on the hero side, but they're not a villain either. And they have
mhm,
their lines. And that's both
right.
Finnick and Asajj. And I just have in my notes BHBFs, like bounty hunter best friends. I just I hope they're best friends because I love those two characters so much. And whenever I love two characters, I just want to see them interact.
I
You
would
see that?
pity the person who is on the receiving end of their bounty if they were to ever work together. Like, they are
Could be unstoppable.
dangerous. Yeah.
And they look good doing it.
Yes,
It's just,
absolutely. I would love to see a
amazing.
friendship between them. Like, I think Ventress has come a long way as a character, and we'll talk about that in this episode. But like, I think that forging friendships and connections for her would be not just a healthy choice, but like it would be really cool if she had a network of like badass lady bounty hunters who like she could connect with.
Yeah, she had some friends in the Clone Wars even.
Yeah.
She got a
Uh,
drink with them, like,
Oh
so,
man, her little date with Lotzarazzi, I love it. Like it
yeah,
was cool
so
to
cute.
like see that episode because like all of those people, especially in that episode Bounty that happened before Lots and Ventress like went and had lunch or whatever,
Went on a
had
date.
these like we're not friends, but I respect you connections with like Bosk and like all the other bounty hunters in that crew. Even at the end of the day, like she didn't hurt Boba, she just put him in a box.
Just his pride. Just his pride,
Yeah. He was
which
just
needed it at that age.
yeah. And that's another instance where Ventress saw a young woman about to have her life uprooted and become a subject of abuse. And so she made a decision to save that young woman. And so going back to like why she's there on Pabu, like that's someone that she sees she can stop bad things from happening to Omega. Basically.
So, I texted you about this because I was a little upset with the clones who were like the Bad Batch was like, She's not good. She's a war criminal. She's" I'm like, "Technically, couldn't you also be under that category as well?" We were just going through clones in the Clone Wars. But at
Mhm.
this point, she seems to realize, like, "Hey, we were both duped. We were both born and bred to be slaves."
Mhm.
Really. I think she's feeling this connection not just with the Omega, but with Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah, and
think
I think that
she changed?
working having, like, seen clones, been close to clones, killed clones, she's had all of these interactions. When she had that fight with Wolf Squad in The Wrong Jedi, she made a decision to, like, not kill those clones, and she wanted to
Yeah, she
leave
listened to
them.
Ahsoka.
Yeah, exactly. She listened to
Like,
Ahsoka,
she
and, like,
has to.
exactly. Like, I think that to your point, there is a very subtle arc. Like, yes, it goes on with Hunter and Wrecker realizing that they were wrong about Ventress, but there's a very subtle crosshair arc in this episode where he ultimately sees himself in Ventress, where we've been criminals, we've done bad, and I see you trying to do better just like I am. And so that I don't want to get too far ahead of us, but like when he reaches out and gives her his hand, I think that's his like way of connecting with
Actually,
her,
like
not physically.
yeah,
Yeah, like, we're like
metaphorically
yeah.
putting a hand out. And
Mhm,
I just wanna give props to the animators, that scene where Omega's like, "I didn't give up on you, Crosshairs," and just his expression can tell 1,000 words. And you
mhm.
can see him being like, "We're not so different, really." Like,
Yeah, I love seeing
he
that.
did
It's
some terrible things in season 1, and then season 2 too. But, like, season 1, he was like, "Villagers? Fine, yeah, whatever. Good soldiers follow
yeah.
orders."
Crosshair has killed people much more recently than Ventress has, and I thought that it was a good way for, like Omega, I think, is coming into her own a lot, not to get, like, too far from the point of Ventress, but Omega's really coming into her own in this season. She's making decisions, making calls, using her intuition, and telling the boys, like, who she is. She's growing up, and being able to influence them like that, I think, shows a lot about how their relationships have changed for the better.
And honestly, Omega feels like such a foil or a reflection to Ventress and to other characters. So many of the clones, all of them, just how they grew up with no freedom. And they're all
Mhm,
trying to give her something different so
mhm.
she can be more.
Yeah. Yeah. Not to get like too ahead of us or anything, but like at the end of the episode, one of the things that hit me really hard about Ventress was that when she does the M count tasks, like etc., Ventress knows that like Omega has an M count, that she could be force sensitive and she could be trainable. But what she sees in that moment is that Omega has a family. Omega has a home with them. She has a protective squad who will take care of her. So Ventress doesn't need to worry about her. And the choice Ventress makes is very deeply influenced by her own history. She was taken away from her people, traded off as a bartering chip by Mother Talzin to a slaver when she was a baby. And so to take like Omega away at this point, especially when Omega has protection and Ventress has possibly other M count subjects to take care of, it would just not make sense for her, and it would be totally against her growth as a person.
And also, she knows what happens with the Jedi. And
Mhm.
I'm just thinking she's doing the exact opposite of what the Jedi did because honestly, it didn't really work out for them. Taking the
No, yeah.
babies, having no attachments.
If Ventress is to train Omega, it will be I think it will ultimately be Omega's decision.
We talked a little bit about The Wrong Jedi, where she just stops the clones, she doesn't kill them. What did you think of this fight where she wasn't trying to really even hurt them that badly, right?
No,
Like, I
she
didn't
was
get that
really
from
just
her. She
moving
was
them
just
around.
trying to
Yeah, yeah, she would just stop.
maneuvering them a little bit.
It's, like, so funny to me that the clones, they know who they are, they identify her, they're like, "That's Ventress, she's the Sith assassin," and it's just like, click in their brains, like, "Oh, yeah, that's Ventress, the Sith assassin that the Jedi Council had to repeatedly send their best people after in order to just chase her
Multiple,
off multiple times."
multiple tag team could not handle this woman.
Could not capture her, could not kill her. She constantly got away from them, either by circumstance or her own talent. Ventress was a big freaking deal, man. And like the fact that it just didn't click with them, like, this person's really dangerous. Like, maybe we shouldn't fight her. Maybe we should try and negotiate a little bit. It just, they're so silly. Like, it just, you don't fight Asajj Ventress. Like, all she was doing was like, moving them out of her way, like, taking their guns and being like, "Alright, I'll fight you, like, fair and square," but, like, this fight was, like, the the fight in The Wrong Jedi was the prequel to this fight, where she essentially, like,
Yeah.
she knocked some people out, she got them out of her way, she was like, "Bing bong, didn't kill him, didn't do it, that's the new me," and then this fight is just, like, this full display of her training, not just as a Jedi, not just as a Sith, as a Night Sister, as a combatant, as someone who is just formidable, man. Like, she was one of the top toppers in the Clone Wars, and, like, this is just a display of that might. The fight was amazing, and it was so smooth, and just, like, every little thing she did just made me, like, just cheer because I'm just like, "Yeah, you tell him, girl."
Oh, I had the biggest smile on my face during this fight scene, and I'm just, like, looking at her, I'm like, "You're so cool." And it's just, like, exactly what you expect of her. And I just love 1, she sends Omega away because she knows there's gonna be violence, and she doesn't want the child involved.
Yeah,
2, when Omega comes back, when they're just brothers in the air, they're on the ground, and it's
and I was like
like,
"What'd you guys do?"
I was gone
This
for a minute.
Yeah, and it's hilarious that her immediate thing is like, "What did you guys do? Like, what did the boys do to make this happen? Because I know it's their fault."
Just do you think she was lying about Omega not having the Force? Crosshair calls her out on it and says, "You're lying," and she's like,
Mhm.
"Which part?"
Yeah, no, I absolutely believe she was lying. I think we have this woman who has had, like I said, these experiences of being taken away from her family, seeing her entire sisterhood get murdered in front of her, and to rip Omega away from her family, from her brothers, it does not line up with Ventress's code essentially that she has developed in this episode. She is exactly the result I wanted when it came to like her redemption era. This is the redemption era I wish everybody got, is what is happening with her and with Crosshair. This formative, like, I know what I did wrong. I'm going to atone for it and I'm going to do right. And I'm going to do good things that are to my code. They aren't necessarily to the Jedi code or the Republic code or the Rebel code. It's to Ventress's code based on her experiences. She's here to protect and defend people who might fall the way she fell or might become a victim the way she became a victim. Her saying, like, yeah, you could have the Force, but I'm not going to take you, was not a rejection of Omega. It was, you're safe now. Like, you have these people that love you. They're strong. They can protect you. They're not as strong as me, but they can protect you. And I'm gonna leave you here while I handle some other people. If Omega really wants to train in the Force, I feel like Ventress has like some kind of eye on them, where it's like if Omega gets in trouble and the boys need help, Ventress is going to be able to come in and take care of that. And if Omega decides like I want to become strong in the Force and carve my path in it, Ventress will then take her on as an apprentice. But like where she is right now is exactly where Ventress would want her to be, is with her family and in safety and becoming stronger.
Something that it's in all media, books, TV, everything is the trope redemption equals death. That the
Mhm,
only way to redeem a villain or someone who's done anything wrong is just for them to die, and I always felt like that's a very lazy trope because atonement is work. Atonement
mhm.
takes time. You don't just automatically be like, "I was bad, but now I'm good because I saved one person," kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, not to make this about Ben Solo, but I feel like this is the right network to do it. I even though I have
RSU
my
would be so
opinions.
proud.
I know, I was he's a me, not to make this about Ben Solo, but that's what I wish they had done with him. Like, I wish that he could have gotten that atonement. I wish he could have gone back to the rebels and got punched in the face by Rose. Like, I feel like these things, these steps would have been so good for him because he is at his core, he's good. He wanted to do good. He did horrible things. His actions resulted in the death of his mother and like the 5-minute death of Ray. And I think that, like, it just sucks that it was just like, I'm gonna write Ben off and he's gonna die a wordless death and it's gonna be okay because he sacrificed himself. And it's like, that's not what I want for
It's
anybody.
easy.
It isn't.
It's easy.
Not
You can
fair.
tie it up in a little bow,
Yeah.
and it's easy to go to the next scene. That's why they do it, I feel like, because they
I
can't.
have this wonderful image in my head now of Rose getting on a step stool just so she can punch him. That's the with Ventress and with Crosshair, this is a satisfaction that I was seeking with Ben and maybe not so much with Vader. Like, okay, he's old, I get it. Like he's basically a
He was
brain
in
in a
his
robot suit.
40s, Katrina.
Okay, he was
What?
aged.
We're not that far from that, Katrina.
I know, but we're not in robot suits and we're not
Yeah,
like
okay,
brains in
fair.
robot suits. Okay, like he didn't really have much like breathing room. Like
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the
yeah. Hasn't
past,
gone a while.
yeah, God before his children were, like, 5 minutes old, like, that man was supposed to be dead anyway, but, like, for Ben specifically, like, I would have
Yeah.
loved to see him atone for for what he did. I would have loved to see him make decisions that are like, "How can I make this world better because I made a mess here? How can I make these people's lives better?" Because I feel like at his core, that's what he wanted to do when he was saving Ray, is like, "If I can't be here, if I have to sacrifice myself, I can put that trust in you and you can do these things that I wish I could do, but the writers won't let me because I have to die to atone for my sin."
Peace out. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, this whole season does feel like it's about atonement. Not just
Yes.
Crosshair, but other people. Like Hunter feels bad about leaving Crosshair behind.
Yep.
That's something that both him and Wrecker have to deal with. And even losing Omega. And obviously just sadness over Tag.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of big
I
emotions for a kid show.
yeah,
I do
absolutely.
appreciate
Well,
that
I
when they
mean,
don't talk down to kids.
yeah, I the rest of the season I'm scared of. I wasn't scared of this episode because I knew like Ventress is gonna come back and hopefully it will be exactly what I want for her, and it was. The rest of the season is just like, what's about to happen? Like, what are the stakes are now so high that like I'm scared for the crew. Like, I don't know what's about to happen. And now we have like confirmation of what the Tantus operation is about, which is finding M count subjects like Omega and essentially like subjugating them to like tests and awful things. So I don't know how intense it's about to get, but like I feel like I need to like emotionally prepare myself for this. And I think that bringing Ventress in at this point to define everything without it being exposition, by the way, fantastic, was just the absolute right move because she herself is like a representation of atonement and redemption and how someone can make, to quote her, the choice to do better.
So that's you said without too much exposition. So that goes to my next question is like why we didn't need an explanation about how she's alive from Dark
Yeah.
Disciples. I've seen a lot of people complain on the internet, which not surprising, it's the internet. But
Hmm.
being it destroys her sacrifice or it breaks canon. But
Hmm. No,
apart from
I'm
that,
sorry. But yeah, I don't need that explanation right now. Like I
no,
that was not what this episode was about. It's not it was this
it's not the
episode was
Ventress
about
show.
Yeah, it's not the Ventress
Yeah, it's
show. This is about
about the Bad
Omega.
Batch.
Yeah, it's about
Mhm.
Omega and the Bad Batch. This is not where she comes in and makes the show about herself. This is a lot like Ahsoka when she showed up in The Mandalorian. Everyone had questions like, where's she been? What's she doing? Why is she here? Like, that wasn't the point of the episode. The point of the episode was reassuring the Mandalorian that, like, Grogu belonged with him and they were forming a family, and Ahsoka was not in a position to, like, break that up and take on that responsibility herself because she wasn't ready. And now we have an Ahsoka show. But yeah, if
Yeah,
that
totally
wasn't
not.
yeah, that story is a story to be told another time, and that's the wonderful thing about Star Wars is that at its best, it's something where there's a main story and several threads being laid down along the way. It's an arc that branches out into many different stories. And so from this episode alone, like, we could have a story about the path if Ventress is working with them. She could have easily, when she came back to life, which, by the way, she is a magic witch. We have said this before, a magic witch who was buried in a magic lake on her magic planet where her magic coven used to raise the dead for fun. Like,
Mm,
I don't know how vividly one can put it when you just say it like that.
it's all there.
I
It's all there.
yeah, I don't I'm not here to, like, watch a Wikipedia page. I don't need all of those things explained to me all at once.
Can you imagine if Ventress shows up and she's like, "I'm Asajj Ventress. I died a few, like, years ago or months ago," or I don't know how time works right now. But so my boyfriend put me in a lake and I got better because of this and this.
Mhm.
And I was like this, and she's just telling her full backstory, her full
It would
Wikipedia
be
page.
so immensely out of character, and even if they did it, like,
She's
through
not
flashbacks.
cares.
Yeah, they
She's
don't
not
of
gonna
course not.
care.
Doesn't need to share. She doesn't like sharing her business with other people. Like, that's like asking Fennec, like, "Hey, can you tell me your life story now? Because 'Cause you're in this episode about a freaking giant alligator." Like, no, dude. No, that's not what it's about. And to demand that of Ventress is very silly. And even if they did it through flashbacks, that would take away from the point of this episode, which is Omega is this important core part of not only the Imperial operation, but a core part of this team, this Bad Batch that has been broken and is repairing themselves and becoming a family again. They are not just a squad anymore. They are family. And Ventress's ultimate decision, even after testing Omega and saying, like, oh, maybe she doesn't have an MCAT. I don't know. That's like Crosshair said, it's a lie. It's something Ventress is doing specifically because she does not want to break this family up and because she knows Omega's safe with them.
Yeah, and that's all we need to know. And the thing is also I to remind people that not everyone reads all the books like we do. Not
Yeah.
everyone is caught up. Technically, a lot of people who just watched the Clone Wars, last they
The
saw,
last
she was a
time
bounty hunter.
the last time we saw
So
her
they don't.
was, what, The Wrong Jedi. That was it, and then
Yeah,
she left, and that was it, and so to demand that much of people is silly, but having this episode and all the hype around her is going to direct people back to the Dark Disciple. It's gonna make them wanna get that book. I wouldn't be surprised if in a week, if someone looks at those audiobook sales and those ebook sales and any sales of Dark Disciple and sees a jump in it because people are gonna go like, "Oh, I didn't know this was here. Like, this is great." And
yeah,
so they read this book and then they go back and watch the episode and they see all the connections between the episode and the book. That's what it's about. Like, that the episode itself led to what happened in the book. One of my favorite parts of this episode is when they're on the boat and they accidentally wake up that giant turtle octopus thing. And if you read Dark Disciple, there is Night Sister custom that Ventress has Quinlan do, where he has to go down and essentially, like, cut the scale off of this, like, sea fish snake thing that lives in on Dathomir, and it's considered a rite of passage for young Night Sisters. So essentially, what they've been doing is chipping away at the life force of this creature for hundreds, thousands of years, slowly killing it. And to see her turn around and treat this creature with compassion and gentleness and calmness because she knows that, like, hey, I accidentally woke you up and alerted you, like, I'm going to calm you down instead of fighting you even though you have me in your clutches. I think that is the biggest moment of growth that she has had from the Dark Disciple, yes, but even like who she was in the Clone Wars. Like, you you rarely saw Ventress show compassion for creatures, for people that she didn't relate to. And so that I think is just like perfect poetry, a great way to get from like one point to another, and truly one of my favorite scenes in this episode.
Yeah, and I was just thinking that she says, "I have a couple lives left," or something to that extent. That's enough of a explanation.
Yeah.
And I love the little touches. We talked already about her taking Crosshair's hand, but she offers Omega her hand too when Omega falls.
Hmm.
And I'm just like,
Yeah.
first season Clone Wars, Asajj wouldn't offer a child her hand.
Ventress
When
wasn't even that patient with Ahsoka. Like, and she was
oh yeah,
actively trying to help Ahsoka. Like, the Ventress that we see in this episode is so chill, so calm
so
and
patient.
centered, patient,
Like
exactly. Like,
patient
her
is
hand
not a word I would
with Omega.
describe her,
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. It's this radical change from who she was. Because if Omega was sitting around throwing zingers at her, she was in this episode, and this was season 6 Ventress, we would see Ventress go like, "Alright, I'm out. Screw you. Like, fend for
Yeah.
yourself." But this Ventress, even though Omega was a little silly, even though the boys had treated her like crap, she stuck around because she wanted to make sure she was right about Omega, and she also subtly wanted to make sure that, like, this was the right place for Omega to be, because if it was, then she wasn't gonna take Omega, and that was I feel like that was her mindset from the beginning, is like, "Let me see how this kid lives, what her protection is like, and if she has protection, what do I have to take her away from her family?"
Yeah, and another good point of like Omega, one of her gifts always have been like intuition.
Yes.
She can tell if people are usually good or bad, and
Mhm,
she tells Asajj, "You like us. You're still here." So she gets
mhm.
like whatever Omega says about a person usually is true. I love that
That
Asajj is getting attached, maybe.
Yeah, I love the little dynamic they have, and, like, someday, yeah, that'd be really cool if Ventress were to take on Omega as an apprentice. I think they'd make a great team. But, like, you brought up a great point of what Omega's actual force power is right now. Like, her untrained force power is intuition. She is always right about people, and that's also what makes her a great tactical leader, and it reminds me a lot of Leia. Before Leia
Mm,
knew she had the force, she had intuition, and she was a great leader even as a teenager like Omega is.
yeah. So we got a little bit of a hint that maybe Asajj's story isn't complete. What do
Mhm.
you think we'll see in the future?
I would really love to see her involved with the path. I was really excited when Quinlan's name came up in Obi-Wan, and I just have this feeling that when Ventress came back, however she did, she of course probably sought out Quinlan. That was the person she loved. She wanted to see if he was still alive, probably because Order 66 had happened, and I'm sure that was very shocking news to her. And so I feel like if she sought him out and they got involved with the path, that is what she's doing. Is Quinlan probably has like home base operations. Like, the theory I have is that she had this big bounty hunting ship in Dark Disciple called the Banshee, and it was a Lancer class pursuit craft that could carry several people. And in this show, she just has like a little, what is the equivalent of a two-seater of a ship. And
Mm,
so my guess right now is Quinlan is moving people and Ventress is doing the scouting. And she's checking and finding M count subjects for sensitives, and then deciding whether or not they need that protection and they need to be taken to the path. So I think that would be a really cool way to tie her into really any show, any other story that's going on right now, is to have her be working with that. Because I feel like it works just so well with her story. It's, again, saving mostly young people, mostly young women who could end up like her, and saving them from that path.
she was to go to live action.
Mhm.
Ahsoka season 2. I adored the Ahsoka Asajj dynamic at Wrong Jedi, and think it would be
I would
great to
love
see
it.
the 2 of them again.
Yeah, I'd love to see her there. I think Skeleton Crew is a great place where she could show
Kids,
up.
kids need some help.
It's Yeah, you never know, she's gonna need some help or something. We could see an animated spin-off, we could see Tales of the Jedi. Like, I have my wild theory that, like, old lady Ventress is gonna find Rey someday and just do some training there. But I feel like that, to your point, that is her mission right now. is her atonement is making sure that no one ever has to suffer the way that she suffered. And she can't bring back the people that she killed, but she can save people from becoming who she was. And I love that. I think the other like major part of this episode that we mentioned that I loved so much was when Crosshair reached his hand out to her because he saw someone who was doing the same thing he did. He saw someone who had been a war criminal and he saw that she was better and calmer and really just like a representation of what he was carving his path toward. And reaching his hand out to her and showing that he saw her was just like so powerful, a subtle, powerful moment.
No, it was great. I just have one more thing on my note, and it's Ventress was a person who finally said midichlorians,
She
and
did it.
I was so happy. Kept saying, "Say midichlorians, you cowards."
She did it. And it's very funny, not to get all like conspiracy theory wise here, but the two people who have really said midichlorian in Star Wars now were both apprentices of Count Dooku. Ventress and Qui-Gon are like apprentice siblings in that way. And so it's really cool to see her essentially doing a lot of what Qui-Gon used to do, like fighting young
Definitely.
people and people with M counts, quote unquote, and finding a path for them. It's very neat.
Is there anything else you would like people to know about?
I am just so happy, man. It's been 10 years since we saw Ventress on the screen, 9 years since she died. And for 9 years, I have been saying she's not dead. She's a magic witch in a magic lake, et cetera, et cetera. And Dude Bros Online will be saying, like, nope, that's not it. This is the facts, blah, blah, blah. Then they're probably the ones complaining about the fact that the episode wasn't a Wikipedia article because they have no reading comprehension. But I am so happy and satisfied, like satisfied that this is the path, the attitude, and the growth that Ventress is displaying because it's perfect for what was set up for her before. And the fact that this redemption era is continuing in this way, where it didn't end in just sacrifice and selflessness. Those were not the only two things she needed to learn. It's now atonement. It's now learning empathy. It's now opening herself up to the force in a greater way than she's ever been opened up for. And I just love the way she was handled. I think that there was a lot of thought put into her story, and I can't wait to see where it goes.
It's a joy, and yeah, they did an amazing job, and I can't wait for more Ventress. It's gonna be so funny when people listen to our What's Up episode about Obi Ventress, and we're just like, "She's fine. She's
Yeah,
fine." She's
that's fine. We put a disclaimer on it. It's okay.
yeah. Katrina, can you tell people where they can find you online?
You can find me anywhere. If you look for Oh Katrina, that's OHCATRINA on all social media platforms. You can read my two Ventress fanfics, Howl of the Banshee and Ventress Golden, if you look for me on Medium or really any social platform. I've been reposting them a lot lately. It's very annoying of me, but I'm doing it anyway. Find me on the Geeky Waffle Network hosting What's Glup with Candace. We have lots of fun. We talk about scrumbly little guys in Star Wars, and it's so wonderful. I also co host Pedro Pascal, the podcast about Pedro Pascal with our dear friend Rachel Leishman. And every Monday, I am on Twitch hosting In the Cantina with O Katrina, and I do other things as well. And but you can find them all on my social medias. And yeah, thanks for talking about ventures with me. I love it.
Oh, no, thank you for being on and being on this crossover, even though one of them is your show. But thank you. I was like, "You're free," because I have a lot of feelings, and I know you have even more feelings.
Oh yes. Oh
So,
yeah.
yes. So, may the waffles be with you.